So it's coming on almost 10 years since I uploaded a video outlining the plans to purge the evil from the British Isles. If you haven't seen that video, then I suggest you do, and I'll put a link of it in the description below. So, as with the last video, I'll be doing a script as such just to help keep me focused and keep the video going with a flow. So the expectations I had from doing that video haven't exactly come to fruition, in that I haven't come across one single other fellow that knows God is their God and has been cleansed by him. Although I'm still eager to carry out the expedition, I'm kind of minded that it isn't exactly a plan laid out in Ezekiel's prophecies that God has for us. This plan being Ezekiel chapter 36, verses 22 through to 38. I like to use the English Standard Version, so you can look up that and see what I'm on about. So it appears that I need to rework my plan some to focus on finding my fellow family members scattered among the nations to bring us out from them, so to ultimately face off with the wickedness in Zionism, looking to occupy our inherited land. Which leaves a tall order if these Talmudic Jews don't bow down to a peace offer as they have an advanced military force. So although it is told in the past we beat nations much mightier than our own with God over us, they weren't exactly equipped with tanks and fighter jets. So either we gather support from the nations as God gathers us, vindicating God's holiness from the damage caused by Christians, Muslims and Jews, enabling us to utterly destroy them, or we fall back on the plan to purge the evil from the British Isles, befriending the UK's military might, and then taking on the Zionists. So moving on slightly, to in that video of purging the evil from the British Isles, I declared and brought myself forward as Schiller, the foretold coming of the birthright Messiah spoken of in Genesis 49:10, from the Joseph tribe. I still stand by this and await my fellows to acknowledge the claim and elect me as your king. Something else about me that I want to make clear is that I'm an ideological racist, which means I don't care what colour your skin is, which is simply a geographic trait. I care what is on your heart. In other words, what's on your mind in relation to the way you act. Wickedness is utterly abhorrent to me and simply won't tolerate it within my presence, or from outside forces exuding wickedness upon us. On my heart, I deny Jesus and expect the same from my fellows. The last prophet of God's was Ezekiel. Others claim to be after this are the claims of God's enemies hijacking his holiness to meet their own ill-gotten gains, profaning him in the process. To finish off speaking on what was contained within that video, I finished it off with asking if there was anybody out there who could offer me a place to stay with 3 meals a day for some upkeep in return. Well, this request is no longer needed as I found myself struck off as unemployable and in receipt of benefits, and just recently a place for me to stay allocated me by the council. So I'm currently in a good position to look after myself. Right, now I want to quickly go over is some things I've learned of over the last 10 years and feel are significant to mention. The biggest of these is overcoming the Western education indoctrination of the heliocentric universe for the realization that we live in an enclosed, motionless, pressured, level playing world. In other words, everything about the Earth being a globe hurtling through the vastness of space is a lie. As said, we live in an enclosed environment. This is evident from weather pressures that exist. It's a scientific fact that such pressure can only exist in a contained environment. If the Earth was open to so-called space, then they would just dissipate into the vacuum of the universe. Such an acknowledgement renders all the claims man has made that they've been to the moon as fabricated. And if one diligently investigates the evidence purported for such a claim, then you find it has more holes in it than Swiss cheese. Here's a few to be left dumbfounded at. There was already a camera on the moon to watch the moon lander shuttle land. The president used a landline to talk to the astronauts on the moon. A photo from the moon of Earth has been shown to be photoshopped. There are many more that ultimately prove that it was a fabricated hoax. The sun and moon is simply within the enclosed barrier separating the waters above from the waters below. So another thing I've learned of is that climate change is a hoax. Well, at least the supposed experts are making up fabricated predictions, and they've been doing it for decades. For instance, in the 1970s, they were predicting we'd be experiencing a coming ice age. But then, with a flip of a coin, they're foretelling of the Earth heating up to apocalyptic proportions, and still to this day, they continue that rhetoric. I mean, for the last 10 years, they've been saying the ice caps are melting and the seas are going to rise, but nothing of what they're saying is coming to fruition. Further to this is Al Gore, who really got the climate change hysteria ball rolling, took the millions he made promoting such and bought beachfront properties. Clearly, he knew otherwise in what he was promoting. Another thing to mention on is the New World Order, which appears to be propagated out of the World Economic Forum and in accordance with UN international agendas, and is discovered nowadays, and is not discovered, and is discussed nowadays as the Great Reset. You will own nothing and be happy. This may well be the future for the meek, but for us as God's people, He has given us land to own and a right to self preservation by His commands. So for us, the elitists can shove their global domination agenda, as we won't be playing along, and this agenda in the working, I feel God has cleansed me, turning me from the ways I was following, which was leading me into this agenda. Another is COVID being a hoax. I'm almost certain that it's a boogeyman virus, and those proclaimed to be sick from it have fallen ill from what was already about, which is toxins in the environment getting into the body, causing the body's antibodies to kick in and flush them out, producing a liquid that can fill up the lungs, aka influenza. If you haven't realised already, then the dangers of vaccines are greater than the disease they're purporting to protect against. The growth in autism correlates with the increase in vaccines given to newborns and is considered the result of vaccine damage. So avoid vaccines like the plague. Okay, talking about this one, I have to word myself carefully as not to trigger YouTube censorship algorithms. It's to do with the anti-Semitism crybabies and their claims that a particular German war camp committed genocidal deeds upon them. And having looked into this, I found that the camp didn't even possess the capabilities to house chambers to commit the act. So another hoax. The only evidence that remains in the purported building is the traces of Cyclone B used to combat lice infestation on the camp. Right, to wrap this video up on, if you think you're a righteous man or woman, or just interested in becoming righteous, then subscribe to the channel and consider joining up on a social group I have on Facebook or Gab. I don't really log into Gab much though, as it's a Christ is King organisation. But Facebook is like a Zionist organisation, so not much choice to make between the two. The links to them will be in the description. Thank you for your time and hope to see you soon.